Welcome to Ideagen TV. Today we are thrilled to have the new chair of Ideagen Miami and the senior vice president for public affairs and communications at the University of Miami with us, Rudy Fernandez. Welcome.
George, it's a pleasure to be here. Thank you for the opportunity to serve on the Ideagen leadership team, if you will, and I'm excited to join you.
Well, Rudy, leadership is a funny thing, isn't it? And you've had so many years now of experience helping to lead, and I consider you really a servant leader. I mean, you are the example of what leadership should look like. People talk about if you can see it, you can be it. And my gosh, when people see you and your style of leadership, I've had the privilege of seeing it. And you've worked through several presidents now at the University of Miami, which is an example, a great example of how you have demonstrated your leadership to help serve and to lead at the same time in your role as SVP for Public Affairs and Communications at the University of Miami. You also have an incredible background, having served as the special assistant to the president during the George W. Bush administration. Rudy, what are some of your biggest leadership examples that you can share with our global audience today?
Well, you're very kind, so thank you for that description. I will tell you that to this day, I consider myself a student of leadership. I'm 25 years into my career. I had the privilege of serving in the Bush administration. That's where you and I got to know each other. And I think one of the key lessons that I learned during my years in the Bush administration that has served me well in my career in higher ed. I've been at the University of Miami now for 14 years. One of the key lessons is that a leader is only as good as the team that he leads. So one thing that I devote a lot of time to is mentoring team members, is making sure that we recruit the right people for the right roles at the University of Miami. And the more time that we devote to making sure that you're building and mentoring and providing strategic direction to a team, the better the organization is gonna do, whether you're in the private sector or in the nonprofit world, in higher ed or in the federal government. Making sure that you're building teams of talented people and then putting them in positions to succeed is critical to leadership. You're only as good as the team that you lead. That's one of the lessons that I have really taken to heart in the 25 years of a career that I've had the privilege of undergoing so far.
Well, and again, having had the privilege, the real honor of seeing you, you're a friend, but I also stand in awe of how you have managed that leadership, how you are transforming an organization like the University of Miami now over the past 14 years. It's not an easy task to help to lead, to build teams, to serve as an advisor, all of these critical components to leadership, like you said. And I believe in that. I believe that you're constantly learning. We're in a constant state of learning. If you're not, then you're falling behind in some way. And so, especially apropos with you being at a university like the University of Miami, to appreciate truly and to understand that, right? That you're in a constant learning mode. It's lifelong learning, right? It doesn't end.
That's absolutely right. That's one of the exciting things about working in a university environment. You're constantly learning, and you certainly learn a lot from, the two presidents at the university that I had the pleasure of serving under, Donna Shalala, who was the person that recruited me here, and Julio Frank, who's a world class public health official and a medical doctor. But I would tell you, in my role today, I almost learn more from the younger members of the team and from students that I have the pleasure of interacting with. That's the exciting part of being in a university environment, and I am grateful for the opportunity to lead. I will tell you one of the things that as you get a little older and you start losing some hair, you learn that the key to happiness in this world is to be grateful for the opportunities that you get to enjoy, that each of us gets to enjoy every day. And I'm grateful for the opportunity to serve a great institution in the University of Miami.
Well, hearing that from you is beyond inspiring. And so shifting gears a bit, so you're the Senior Vice President for Public Affairs and Communications. Why, Rudy, do you believe that effective communication is so critically important into helping to carry out your specific goals at the University of Miami?
Well, it's very simple, George. In order to accomplish anything substantial, in order to achieve big goals, you can't do anything that's transformative alone. You need to motivate people to join your vision and to sharing your vision. And in order to mobilize other folks, you need to communicate effectively. So there's really, 3 or 4 principles that I believe are at the core of everything that we do at the University of Miami, particularly, and they were evident during this 17 or 18 months of the pandemic that we've had to endure and to work through. The first is that you want to, in today's day and age, you want to communicate often. People are, I'm a big student of history, and you think about what FDR did very, very effectively through his fireside chats during World War II. If people were sort of gathering around the radio, eager to get updates on how the war was going from the president. And if that's the version, the 21st version of that is people turning over to their mobile devices and trying to look at the Twitter page or whatever news platform they use in order to get their news, and sort of hit refresh to try to get the latest the latest news. And that certainly was the case during the pandemic. I can tell you, we made the very difficult decision to reopen our campus. And parents and students were hungry to get the latest information as to what the university was doing to prepare and to make the campus safe during the pandemic for our students and for our campus community. And to communicate often and use all mediums of communication at your disposal was something that was a primary objective or one of our major goals, if you will. Then making sure that communication was two-way communication was important, and perhaps most important was making sure that you maintain credibility at all times. At a time where facts and news sources are being questioned more than ever, and there's so much misinformation, making sure that you maintain yourself as a credible source of news. And certainly when you're communicating with parents or with patients at our health system, making sure that the information that they were getting from the University of Miami was 100% accurate was a major focus of our team.
And, you highlight something that's so critically important, especially today, Rudy, that you're helping shape really the next generation of not only leaders, but of citizens that it's not a good to have, it's a must have quality, which is to be able to communicate your point in a way that's articulate, to communicate your point so that there's no confusion, right? There's all these critical elements. You mentioned FDR and the fireside chats during World War II. That was critical because of the communication aspect. People were scared and they were looking for information. By the way, great example as well, COVID, global pandemic, university, students. How do you communicate that? How do you communicate that your children will be safe. The students will be safe. There's no ambiguity there, right? You have to be really, really clear. And again, a testimony to you, a testament to your leadership to be able to put that together during one of the most difficult periods, I would argue, in human history. The entire planet facing a common enemy, which is a global pandemic and the COVID-19 issue.
I agree, George. I whether it's the reference to FDR in World War II, or another monumental and life-changing, world-changing event that you and I had the opportunity to live through as when we're serving President Bush was obviously September 11th. So imagine in the hours and days after September 11th, how we were all huddled around television and online, trying to get the latest and best news as to what was happening in our world. That's a time that calls for clear and concise communications. You got to make sure that what you're reporting is accurate, and you have to use all communication mediums at your disposal. Now, the great advantage that we have in 2021 that was still not as effective and widespread during 01 or certainly in the time of our forefathers and our grandparents during World War II was the fact that now social media and digital communications allows for two-way communication. We getting instant feedback from, in the case of the University of Miami, from parents and from students that read our communications, and if the communication was effective, and if it was not, and there were issues or things that were unclear in the message that you send out, you find out about it right away. So we're living in a very exciting age in terms of communications.
I like that. And what I really like about what you just said is your optimism. And by the way, optimism is a critical component of leadership as well. You have to have optimism in order to believe what you're communicating, and to communicate in a way that is positive, especially in the work that you're doing. And so, Rudy, as you know, at Ideagen, we hold those 17 global goals as a backdrop for all of our conversations. The 17 global goals of the United Nations, to point out again, because I always do this to our global audience, agreed upon by every single member, all 193 member states of the United Nations, by the way, including the United States of America, of course. So unanimous consent here. You and I both know, very difficult, unprecedented, all 193 member states agreeing to these 17 global goals. There's one goal specifically that I believe you hold near and dear to your heart amongst many of the others, if not all of them, which is goal number 4, which is what we're talking about today, which is quality education. Rudy, how are you and your partner organizations working together to help progress toward the achievement of these global goals?
Well, let me tell you first, a lot of what drives me as a servant leader, and that was a high compliment for you to use those words in describing my style of leadership. But I am a big believer in the concept of paying it forward. Most of the folks that will watch this interview may not know that I migrated to this country. I was born in Caracas, Venezuela, of Cuban parents, came to this country when I was 10 years old. And this community of South Florida that I'm blessed to live in is a community that was very generous to my family and to my younger sister and to me. So I realized, all my dreams, because the United States of America is a great country, and Miami-Dade is a very generous community. I arrived in this country without speaking a word of English, and I was able to learn the language really quickly thanks to the public school system in Miami-Dade. Then I was able to attend college, to get a master's degree in business administration, and to serve in the Bush administration and realize all my dreams. The key to all this, a big key to this, is the fact that we have a great educational system in this country. and that was something that was key to my success. And I've devoted a great part of my career to higher ed, because I think that's something that could really be transformative to future generations of leaders here in my home state of Florida. So we at the University of Miami work very closely in our community with Florida International University, which is another important institution in our community, the main public university in our area, with Miami-Dade College, which is the largest college, community college in the country, and also serves an important mission. And through we work very closely with the K through 12 school system in Miami-Dade, which is one of the largest ones in the country. And I think that partnership, when you're trying to address and improve the educational system in any community, certainly in the United States, it requires more than one university or one institution. So we're working with our sister institutions in order to advance that mission and address disparities. Those disparities exist, and I know that we're living in intense political times, but there's something that all Democrats, Independents, and Republicans should agree with, and that's in the need for a commitment to K through 12 education and to higher education, to make sure that that future generations of Americans are as prepared to compete in this world that's more interconnected every day, right? And we need to sort of have a workforce and talented people that could that could help lead this country long after you and I are gone, right? So that's why I'm a big believer in that goal, and I applaud your leadership in working to advance those United Way initiatives, United Nations initiatives.
That's right. And I want to call out for our global audience. It's very, to me personally and professionally, the story you just shared publicly with your journey, that everybody has a story. We know that your story is extraordinary. There are many extraordinary stories out there, but it's amazing to hear from you. You came to this country when you were 10. The community you were in embraced you. You rose up to work for the president of the United States, right? And you're now working at the University of Miami for the president of the university, the second president that you've worked for there. I mean, if that's not inspiring, I'm not quite sure what is. But it's inspirational. It's extraordinary. I want to thank you from Ideagen for your leadership, Rudy, for the leadership role you have at Ideagen as chair of Ideagen Miami. And I'd like to ask you in closing, what is your call to action as we continue to build and bring together the planet?
Well, I think we need to realize that as human beings, and now there's 7 billion of us. We have a lot more in common than we have than what we have that makes us different. And I think we need to realize, and I say this as someone who's still a conservative. We need to the United States, needs to continue being a active player in world affairs. And I would tell you, and I'm speaking specifically to members in my community, that it is more important than ever that we stay active in world affairs and we work with multinational organizations like the United Nations to advance things that will advance those 17 initiatives that I applaud, and make sure that we realize that we're in an interconnected world. Isolationism is not the solution to the world's problems or to the problems in our community. So I'll leave it at that.
Rudy Fernandez, Senior Vice President for Public Affairs and Communications at the University of Miami. If someone across the world, as they're listening to this interview, wanted to learn more about the University of Miami, how can they find out more?
Well, they could go on, obviously online at miami.edu. That's our website, and there's plenty of great information on our website, or they could email me at rudyfernandez@miami.edu.
Rudy Fernandez, global leader and luminary, changing the world. Thank you for all you're doing. Thank you for your inspiration. Thank you for your leadership. And thank you for paying it forward.
George, thank you. It's a pleasure chatting with you, and I look forward to seeing you in person soon.